Sound check. 1 2 1 2. Sound check. Test 1 2 1 2. Sound check. Hello. Let me get everything set up here. I'm live in more than one place here, so I'm setting up more than one thing all at the same time. Make sure I can see properly. Over here. We are live there. We are live here. Yes, we are live here. Yes, we are live here. Yes. Even on Christmas, I'm giving y'all gifts. Doing this live stream, I like to give gifts. I like to give. If y'all don't know, if y'all not familiar with my work, not familiar with my game, I just like to give. So I want to give people some game here today on Christmas. I know some of you may be spending time with your family, so shout out to the people who can't watch this live and you're watching on replay because spending time with your family. But shout out to the people who have some time and some attention on your hands and you are watching this live. I'm gonna give you something that is useful here on this Christmas day, as usual, as I do on every other day, even when it's not a holiday. The topic here today is that gratuity and tips. You know, the gratuity that they ask you to give whenever you buy something nowadays, or the tip that some people seem to have the expectation that you're going to give them. I'm here to let you know that is extra. It is by definition extra, and you do not owe it to a person just because they are doing whatever job that they're doing. And if you happen to be a person who works on tips, the tips are not owed to you. A tip is something that you earn. And we're going to get into all of that today. So first of all, Merry Christmas to everybody who was out there celebrating Christmas. Even if you're not celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas to you anyway. My name is Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete, author of 35 books, done 4 TEDx talks. I created this brand called Work on Your Game. What we do here is we give people straight talk, real talk, direct talk, no BS, no bullshit, no fluff about taking your game from where it is to where you want it to go, using the same principles to help athletes get to the top of the sports world. And athletes at the top of the sports world are the top 2% of their jobs. I'm going to help you get to the top 2% of your job, starting with your mindset, then going into a strategy, then going into systematizing that strategy, and then going into making sure everything is being held accountable and implemented properly. You can find out more about that at workonyourgameuniversity.com. So this topic here today, which is gratuity is extra. I will tell you all a story. I don't know where I'm going to tell this story. So let's just start. Let me just start with the story. So I posted a couple clips on whatever app you're following on. You may have seen this clip. There's a clip that I posted and I'm going to take questions and comments at the end, by the way. So this clip came out maybe a day or two ago. I saw on TikTok, several people had commented on it, that I ordered from this app called GoPuff. If y'all don't know what GoPuff is, if you don't live in a big city, you may not know GoPuff. They're an app that basically takes a convenience store like Walgreens or CVS and they condense it down into an app. So if you want to order a Snickers bar and some ice cream and a soda and some paper towels, you can order it on GoPuff, and you can basically order anything you can get in a convenience store or like a gas station mini mart. You can order it on GoPuff. So I ordered GoPuff, and this was months ago that this happened, but I ordered some candy on GoPuff, and it was like $15 worth of candy that I ordered on GoPuff. And I left a $1 tip on the order that I was making. Now, a couple issues with this. First of all, that they're asking me to leave a tip before I even get the service. I mean, the whole purpose of tipping is that you're tipping based on the quality of the service. But we have flipped it around here in the United States where people are asking for the tip before the service has even been delivered, which makes no sense because there's no way for the person who is delivering the service to differentiate themselves and prove that they should be getting more or less money as a tip. So it's actually screwing over a whole bunch of you who are working on tips. But anyway, this is what they did. They asked for the tip up front, and At the same time, any of you ever ordered GoPuff, you know that they have these extra fees. So even though my stuff was only $15, the GoPuff fees and the delivery fees and the service fees and the fees, they got all these fees. There was like $6 or $7 extra on top of my 15 just to order the stuff. And then they asked me, do I want to leave a tip? Or what they do is they auto default it to like 25, 30%, and then you can change it. I changed that shit to $1. So I give this delivery driver, whoever it was going to be, didn't know who they were, a $1 tip. And this is before anything comes to me. So when this person gets near my building, I get a phone call. Now, I never answer calls from numbers that I don't know. So I didn't even answer the phone when it first rang. Didn't ring. Then it rang again. I didn't answer it the second time. Then I got a text message. And the text message said, hey, I'm your GoPuff delivery driver. And this is what it said. It said, you need to call me back or I'm going to cancel your order. That's what it said. You need to call me back. I'm going to cancel your order. I thought it was some type of emergency. I thought this person, maybe they couldn't find the building or they got lost or something. But the building that I live in, you could not miss the building. But anyway, I call back. Person answered the phone. There's a woman. I could tell it was a black woman. I could just tell by her voice. And she says, I said, hey, is there an issue? I said, did you deliver the food? And she said, well, yeah, I left it at the front desk. Now, where I live, you don't leave stuff at the front desk. What you do is you go to the front desk and the person, you tell them who you're delivering for. They call me and then they send you upstairs in an elevator to bring it to my front door. She didn't do that. She left it at the front desk and left. And she said, I left this stuff at the front desk. I said, why? Where was the front desk person? Were they not there? And she said, I don't know. That's what she said. And then she went into what she really wanted to say. Here's what she said. She said, I just want to let you know that when you order, you need to leave more than a $1 tip because people like us, we work really hard to deliver food for you. And while I'm processing what she's saying and I'm about to speak and respond to her and put this bitch in her place for calling me and saying this, she hangs the phone up. So I didn't even get a chance to say anything back to her. And then I went and reached out to GoPuff and I told them about what happened. And they basically tried to make it right by giving me like $15 in gift cards and all this shit. So that was the situation that led to me talking about what we're going to talk about here today. So let's start off here with a definition of a tip. The definition of a tip. All right, everybody knows what a tip is, right? When you go to a restaurant, you can leave a tip to the server and they do it the right way because they ask for the tip after you have the service so that you know if the person was really good, you might leave them more money, and if they sucked, you might give them less money. The problem with what we're now, like for example, today, my meal delivery service is on vacation this week, so I've been having to go out and pick up food. So I went and picked up some food, and when I went to pick up the food, what you do is in the app, you order the food, and then they ask you, do you want to leave a tip? The thing is, why are you asking me if I want to leave a tip before I have even experienced what you're selling? Because again, if it's really good, I might leave more money. And if it's trash, then I might leave less money. But if you ask me for the tip before I have even experienced the situation, then I have no basis upon which to decide what I'm going to do, which is why there's another thing that they've messed up when it comes to the tip. Now, I understand that this works for them. In the whole, it works for them because more people will leave a tip just because they feel like they should because you're asking for it. So I understand the hustle of businesses doing this. But with people like myself, this actually hurts you because I ain't leaving shit. If I'm going to pick up food, I'm not leaving you a tip. I'm not. If I go pick up food and I order from your restaurant and then I go there and get it myself, I'm not leaving you a tip. What am I tipping you for? You charged me for the food. I paid for it. What do I owe you a tip for? You didn't do anything. You did your job. I paid you for your job. That's why I paid for the food. So I just had a burger and some potato wedges and it was like $24. I don't know where you all live, but here in South Florida, that's like normal. So it was like $24. Like I just paid $24 for this burger and the potato wedges. I had to go get the shit. What am I tipping you for? You ain't do nothing. You did your job. Now, if you went and served it to me, let's say if I had delivery and you brought it to my door, okay, I can understand the tip. If I went into the restaurant and sat down and you brought it to my table, I can understand the tip. But if I went and got the shit myself, I don't owe you any tip. What the fuck did you do? Again, I don't understand this. So if I got it wrong, somebody let me know. Or if you disagree, let me know. Definition of the word tip is a sum of money given to someone as a reward for their services. That's the definition of the word, straight out the dictionary. And over here, and for those of you who are not familiar with my game, not familiar with my work, I try to be as logical as possible. Not everybody thinks I'm logical. When you disagree with me, people think that I'm not logical. I try to be as objective as possible and as rational as possible, which is why when we're talking about these terms that people have different opinions on, I always give the definition of the word so that we all are speaking from the same baseline. So the definition of the word tip is a sum of money given to someone as a reward for their services. The definition of gratuity or gratuitous is given or done free of charge. That means it's extra as a reward for your services. It's not an exchange for your services. That's different. It's a reward for your services. So for example, if I'm a barber and I'm working in a barber shop, my service, the exchange for my service is a haircut costs $25. All right. That's how much it costs. So if you sit down in my chair and I cut your hair, you owe me $25. That's the agreement. The tip is a reward of extra for something that you choose to give me, but you don't have to give it to me if you don't want to. If you want to tip me $5, you can give me $5. So now I made 30 off cutting your hair. But if you don't want to tip me and I just get the 25, then I just get the 25. All right. That's the way it's supposed to work. Now, what has happened is a lot of people who are in service-based businesses, like this GoPuff driver, have now been indoctrinated to feel entitled to a tip. They feel entitled to a tip, not only entitled to a tip, but entitled to a certain amount of tip, to the point that they get mad at you if you don't give them enough. So this woman delivered $15 worth of stuff to me, and it was just, again, convenience store shit in a bag. She didn't do shit but drive it from where it was from the warehouse to my house. She got a $1 tip, and she got mad at me because she only quote unquote got a $1 tip. First of all, bitch, I'm not responsible for supplying your wages. All right, that's not my responsibility. Your deal with GoPuff is that they pay you whatever percentage based on every order that you take to the household of a customer. And if that ain't enough money for you, that's between you and your employer, or you and the person who has contracted you. That's nothing to do with me. That's not my responsibility. But let me continue here before I step on all my points as I get further into this. So those of you who live in South Florida, you may know this, or if you live in any big city, this is probably a thing. So any of you in a big city, tell me if this happens, that nowadays, if you order something in Miami, often, and not the pickup stuff, but like let's say you go sit down at a restaurant and eat, often they're adding a 20% tip to the bill without even asking you. Like, so you go to a restaurant and you order $30 worth of food, they put a 20% gratuity on the bill. When they bring you the check, there's a 20% bill tip already added to the bill. Now, in the fine print, it says, if you want to remove this gratuity, you can let us know. But who's going to go through all that hassle? So they're basically just taking the money from you without even giving you an opportunity to say yes or no. Now, when I go to smaller towns, they don't do this. But in big cities, so if you're in Miami, Vegas, LA, New York, in big cities, they're just doing this automatically. But in smaller towns, these things don't happen. And if you live in a big city, you probably know that this kind of stuff takes place. So I'm not a fan of any of this shit. I'm not a fan of any of it. Again, I don't have a problem with tipping. I don't have a problem with the concept of gratuity. I do have a problem with it being taken from me without me being asked, without me having the opportunity to choose the amount. And also, damn sure am not a fan of someone having a sense of entitlement that it's somehow owed to them just because of whatever, because they work hard. Bitch, everybody works hard. That don't mean you're owed anything. But anyway, let me get into my points before I go too far. Point number one. All right, that wasn't even one of the points. Point number one is this. It is not the responsibility of the customer to supplement the wages of a tip-reliant individual. This is the most important baseline understanding we all got to be on the same page with. It is not the responsibility, and I see that question there, and it's a good straw man question that you did there, but we're going to get to that when I get to the question and answer session. So hold that question, Dr. Ja, hold that question, because I will address that at the end. It's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. It's not a good question, but it's a good talking point that many other people agree with. So I'm going to address it, but wait till I get done. It is not the responsibility of the customer to supplement the wages of a tip reliant person. If you are in a line of work that relies on tips, it is not the customer's responsibility to supplement your income. So if you feel like if you work in a kind of job where you make most of your money off tips, I'm not mad at you. I'm not saying to quit your job. I'm not saying you're doing the wrong thing. What I'm saying is the responsibility of you making that extra money from the tips is not on the customer. That's on you. And how is it on you? What I mean is the level of service that you give and the type of relationships you build with your customers and clients needs to be at such a level that they want to give you a tip so that you make a bunch of money from tips because of the level of service that you give. Not because you're looking at the customer like they owe it to you just because you're there and just because they are there. All right. You don't get extra just for showing up. All right. Not in the world that we're in today. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, you could just show up and get extra just because. These days, with computers replacing a bunch of people, especially if you're an entry-level worker, you're getting replaced by a computer or by AI or some type of bot automation. All right, you better catch up. You better catch up. You better wake up. All right, some of y'all are dreaming right now and don't even realize what the situation is. There's a Burger King in my neighborhood. They put a fence around it. This is like 2 months ago. They put a fence around it. I thought they were about to tear it down because this is in a prime location, great real estate. and they put a fence around. I thought it was going to get bulldozed, and I figured the next time I see it, it'll be a pile of rubble and they'll build something else here, because that real estate could go for a very nice price in Miami. I came back the next week and walked past that same Burger King, and the Burger King was still there. The fence was gone, the Burger King was still there, but I noticed, I don't eat Burger King, but I could see through the big window, they had just redesigned the inside of the store. And you know what they changed? They took all the checkout counters where you walk up to a person and they say, hey, welcome to Burger King, man, take your order. They replaced those with a bunch of those big video boards where you basically order the foods yourself by pushing on the buttons, and then you pay for it right there. And then they had one person at the counter who would just grab the food from the back and hand you the bag. They would say, all right, order number 55 for Mike. And they get the food to Mike, then they get the food to Erica, and then they get the food to Lisa. So basically what Burger King did was take 5 employees from the front row of the store. They replaced them with 5 computer boards, and they only got one person bringing the food. If y'all don't understand, get the gist of what I'm saying here, they just replaced 5 jobs with a computer. All right, that's what they're doing. So if you're an entry-level worker working the kind of job that can be replaced by a computer, I suggest you wake the hell up, because Amazon, in case any of you didn't know, they're working on drones right now that can take a package from a warehouse. And when we say packages, this could also be a pizza that you order from Uber Eats, or some candy that you got from GoPro, or some lotion that you ordered on Amazon, and take the drone, the computer will take the shit from the warehouse and drop it off at your front door, which means what? What does that translate to? No human workers. A bunch of you are working in places where you are about to get replaced by a computer chip who does not need health care, who does not go on vacation, does not need days off, does not get sick, does not get stuck in traffic, and can get paid a whole lot less, because you only got to pay for the robot one time and a little bit of upkeep. You ain't got to pay a salary to a robot. Right? And robots don't protest. Robots don't join unions. Do y'all understand that you're about to get replaced? So if you're working this kind of job, like this person who was driving Uber Eats and mad at me because I left them a $1 tip, that if I had a chance to have spoken to her and had a conversation with her, I would have said, bitch, you're about to get replaced by a computer. All right. You really complained about $1. You should be happy I gave you $1, because it might be the last dollar you get. But anyway, let's continue. All right. If a customer chooses to give you a tip, be grateful that they gave you a tip. And if they don't, they haven't done anything wrong. They don't owe you a tip. A customer does not owe you a tip. If they want to give you one, fine. I give tips. When I go to service-based businesses, I do give a tip. If I go to a restaurant, I will tip at the restaurant. If I don't go to the barbershop anymore, but when I did, I would tip the barber. Where's another place where you get service? I don't go to places like day spas and things like that. But if I went and got a massage, I would give a tip to the masseuse. Right, things like that. Yes, I will give a tip. But just because you're there, you don't get a tip just because. And if your service sucks, I don't give you shit. Right? And now I'm willing to do that. Most people are not. So I understand why this automatic tipping thing has worked for a lot of businesses, but I'm not doing it. Okay, so let me continue. There's several things I dislike about this process. I've already kind of laid that out. One of them is that companies are now passing on the demands of their staff, because many staff people these days, you hear people talking about a living wage, or they need to raise the minimum wage, or we need more money, right? You hear everybody talking about that. Is that companies are now passing those desires onto the customers rather than taking them into their own hands. This is what businesses do. Because if you work at a company and the company is like, hey, or not the company, excuse me, someone said, let me respond to this comment. What's going on, Shuggy? Merry Christmas. So someone said, how is she a B just because her life is different from yours? I'm using the word bitch as a figure of speech, Dr. Jock. Come on with the nonsense. You know better. I'm using it as a figure of speech. I'm not saying she's a bitch. I don't even know who she is. I never even met the woman, because, again, she called me and she drove off before I even got downstairs. So I'm using bitch as a figure of speech. Those of you not familiar with my game or familiar with my work, please keep up so I don't have to slow down for you to catch up. So anyway, what companies are doing, instead of saying, okay, let's figure out a way that we can pay our employees more money as a baseline salary, instead they're saying, okay, now let's just add tipping to everything. So there's a little, what I don't even know what you call it. It's like a little food spot where you pick up, the pre-prepared meals. They'll be in a little plastic container. All you got to do is pop it into the microwave or the toaster oven, and the food is already cooked. So there's one of those in my neighborhood, and they have little meals that cost like $8, $10, $12. And when you go there and pick up a meal and you pay for it, they have the audacity to have at the checkout counter. So you go in there, you get your food out the little refrigerator, you bring it to the counter, you pay for it, and then they got the audacity to have something on there that says, would you like to leave a tip? What am I tipping you for? You didn't do anything. The person is literally just standing there doing nothing. Sometimes they don't even speak to you. They don't even say hello. And they asking for a tip. What am I tipping you for? You didn't do anything. I'm using this as an example of a bigger picture, is that there are many businesses who are now doing this and just adding this possible, would you like to give us a tip? Even though they're not literally not doing anything above nor beyond what they've always done before they were asking for the tip. And I'm not mad at the businesses for doing this. I don't agree with it, but I'm not mad at them for doing it. And I'm explaining to you why. If I owned a business, I would do the same thing. If I owned a business that was like a storefront type business, I own a business, but not that type of business, I would do the same thing. If I can get a couple customers a day to give me an extra $2 or $3 or $5 on every order, that shit starts to add up. And that's a couple $100 maybe a day, depending on how many customers I got. Now I got extra money that's going to the company. And by the way, let me, in case any of you doesn't know, that when a tip is added to the bill, that money is going to the company most of the time. It is not going to the staff. That money is not going directly into the pockets of the staff. If a tip is going directly into the pockets of your staff, it's usually explicitly said to you. It says, any tip you give goes directly to our staff. They'll actually say it because they want you to know that they're doing it. Anybody who doesn't say that, that money is not going directly to the staff. Any of you who's ever worked in any type of, like, if you ever been a waiter or a waitress, please co-sign this and let everybody know that I know what I'm talking about. This is one of the reasons why back in the day, that back in the era when it wasn't that long ago, when people still use cash a lot, but they would also have cards, that a lot of times people who worked in service, they would say, hey, if you're going to give me a tip, please give me the tip in cash. And why would they want the tip in cash? Because if the tip is in cash, then the money doesn't have to go through the bosses before they get their money. Because if I go leave you, let's say I went to a restaurant in 2010, like 15 years ago. Yeah, I want to leave you a $20 tip. The waiter or waitress, if I left a $20 bill as the tip, then you could keep that whole $20. You could just put that $20 in your pocket and nobody would ever know that I left you $20. Now, if I put $20 onto my credit card and write that onto the bill, now it has to go through the company's system and you get taxed on that $20. It may get reported by the company, and it might have to get split up amongst like the bar back and the cooking staff and the hostess and all that. So your $20 that I left you might only end up being $15 or $10 after it goes through everybody else. So people who worked in service preferred cash tips because they could just stuff that in their pockets. Anybody who ever worked in these spaces knows exactly what I'm talking about. So the issue is now a lot of it is cashless because a lot of businesses are just straight up cashless. They don't even take cash. Like if you can't just walk in a restaurant and they say your bill's $25 and you pull out a $20 bill and a $5 bill, like they don't even know what to do with it these days. So everything is card, Apple Pay, et cetera, et cetera. And I went on a tangent here, but the point is companies have passed this cost on to their customers, and the customers have taken up this responsibility. I ain't doing that shit. I'm not doing it. Again, I will leave a tip, but you have to earn the tip. And this is the world that I come from. I come from the world of sports where you have to earn what you get. And you can't just get something just because. I abhor the concept of participation trophies. And giving someone a tip just because they're there is a participation trophy in the form of money. Not over here. That's not happening over here. But what companies do is, again, they could raise prices if they want to just pay their staff more money. Any of you runs a business and you have staff and you want to pay them more money and you ain't got the money, just charge higher prices for what you sell. Now there's your money. Now you can pay your staff more money. But companies don't want to do that because if they charge too much, then the customers stop coming. So they keep the prices the same, then just add on fees. So you want to see an example of this? I haven't dealt with this business in a long time, but some of you have. And you ever flown on Spirit Airlines? All right, they're an example of this. I don't know what they're doing these days, but I remember back in like 2009, 2010, they used to do this shit all the time. Spirit Airlines would advertise something like, you could fly from New York to Miami for $2. And it'll be like literally the ticket was $2. But then the bag fee, the seating fee, the Spirit fee, the air fee, the oxygen fee, the waking up in the morning fee, the ticket would end up being like $117. But they would advertise that it was $2. This is the same thing the companies are doing. They're doing a small amount of it. What they do is they put the regular price, like the low price, whatever it is. And then what they're hoping is that by giving you the fees and the taxes and the adding that gratuity on, a $6 item actually ends up with you spending $11. But you came in because it says $6. You looked on the website and it said, how much is this? So it was $6. Oh, it was only $6. Let me go over there. Then you end up spending $11. That's called a bait and switch. And businesses shouldn't be able to do this, but they all do it. I ain't mad at them for, again, I ain't mad at them for doing it. I understand the hustle. I can't knock anybody's hustle. And if people are allowing it and they keep buying from you after you do it to them, then I can't be mad at you. I can talk shit about it like I'm doing now. I'm not going to be your customer, but I can't be mad at other people if they want to be your customer. But this is what they're doing. And this is the hustle. And I don't know if Spirit Airlines, does Spirit Airlines still do this? Any of you fly Spirit Airlines? Any of you who fly Spirit Airlines, stop. But if you know anything about this, you let me know. There are better options out there than Spirit Airlines. But anyway, so I don't like the fact that, again, a worker, this is another thing that businesses do. I don't know if they do this where y'all are, but in Miami, this happens often, is that you'll go somewhere. Let's say I go pick up some food, right? And the person has the little handheld things they use to take the money now. So they have the handheld thing, and let's say the order is $20. And I go swipe my card in the little handheld thing, and they're holding it, watching me do it. And then the little thing will come up for a tip. And they're sitting there looking at me while I'm choosing which tip to give. Now, again, most human beings who want to be nice and want to be kind and want to be compromising are usually not, even if you don't want to give a tip, you're probably not going to pick zero with the person sitting there watching you fucking push zero right in front of them. They're usually going to pick something just by the peer pressure of the situation. Now, I'm the type of person, any of you know anything about the big 5 personality traits, one of them is agreeableness versus disagreeableness. I'm much higher on the disagreeable scale, and disagreeable does not mean you're a negative person. Disagreeable means you're the type of person who's willing to tell someone something that might upset them, but you're willing to say it right to their faces, even if you know that they might get upset. Most human beings are not like that. So I'm the type of person who will push zero right there in front of you because you didn't earn the tip, but most people wouldn't. So what does this do? This creates peer pressure that is extracting money from the customer just based on the way that the situation is socially set up. And again, I ain't knocking the hustle of businesses of doing this, but I don't like the fact that they're doing this. I really do not agree with this process. And again, this is usually in big cities because I've been to small towns and I know a lot of small town people, and I talk to them about this and they say in our town, hell no, people don't do that because people wouldn't stand for it. But in big cities, people tend to get away with this, and there's a reason for that. And the reason is big cities tend to lean more to the left politically, and the left politically, we all understand, has pushed this whole concept of the people with the most resources somehow bad victims, and we got to do stuff to help the victims out. Big cities tend to have this kind of leaning. And even though I do not agree with that ideology, I am a big city guy, so I'm kind of in the wrong place. I should move to the suburbs somewhere. I'm joking, but you get what I'm saying. So the other part I don't like about this is that you got delivery drivers and delivery workers now who are bold enough to get mad at a customer for not leaving a tip. Now, I don't know if these things are real. Some of you can tell me, but I've seen these videos. Y'all probably seen them where allegedly, who knows if these people are, if this is real or not, but it'll be like somebody's delivering for Uber Eats and they're delivering a pizza or something like that. And then they'll knock on the door to deliver the pizza. And then when the person comes to the door, the Uber Eats driver will basically cuss out or tell off the customer for, hey, you didn't leave me enough of a tip, or you should leave me more tip, or they'll drop the pizza on the ground, or they'll put a nasty note with the pizza or something like that because they didn't get a big enough tip, just to kind of like tell the customer about themselves so they didn't leave a big. I don't know if these are really happening or if people are acting, but I do believe there are a lot of workers, delivery drivers like DoorDash, Uber Eats, etc. I do feel that a lot of them believe that they are owed something just by doing their jobs. And I do believe that this does happen. I don't know if it's always on camera, because again, how do people even get this stuff on camera? I do believe that people believe it, though, whether the stuff we see online is real or not. I do think a lot of people get unhappy about that. And a lot of customers don't want to face an angry human being, period, for any reason. So whatever they got to do to get the person off them and just leave them alone, I think a lot of people will do it. And I believe that is taking advantage of the customer. And I'm not a fan of that. Even as a business owner myself, I'm not a fan of taking advantage of the customer by using these kind of social dynamics against the customer. And businesses, any of you who runs the type of business who has the ability to do this, y'all need to stop that shit. Moving on to the second point. I'm giving you several points within each point, but here's the second one. If you work off of tips, any of you listen to this and you make your money by tips, or you want to work somewhere where you make the majority of your money by the tips, I'm not telling you to quit. You can do that. And I actually, if I was going to do that type of work, I would want to work somewhere where I can perform the service and make money off tips such that in such a way that I can differentiate myself from the next person. So I would not do Uber Eats or DoorDash. The reason why I wouldn't do Uber Eats or DoorDash is because if I'm driving Uber Eats and you're driving Uber Eats, how do I prove that I'm better than you? There's no way for me to prove that I'm better than you. Because if I'm ordering on Uber Eats, the only thing I know is I ordered from this restaurant and it says my meal's going to be here in 40 minutes. And then in 40 minutes, I get a knock at the door and the food is sitting there on the doorstep. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you did. You didn't do anything. All you did was take the food from there to here. I mean, you did that, but there's no way for you to differentiate yourself in that line of work. If you're going to work off tips, you should work somewhere where people can get to know you personally. They can experience you personally and your personality, and therefore you have a chance to differentiate yourself. For example, in a restaurant, if I'm a waiter, I can differentiate myself from all the other waiters by just providing exceptional service compared to everybody else who works there. And if you come eat at my restaurant and I'm waiting at your table, you can get a real feel for me and my style and what I do. You can say, all right, this waiter was really good. I'm going to give him a $50 tip instead of a $30 tip. Or you could go to one of the other waiters and say, this guy sucked. I'm going to give him a $10 tip instead of a $30 tip. But I can differentiate myself in that line of work. There is a restaurant, I believe it's in New York, and this happens in a bunch of 5-star restaurants, 4- and 5-star restaurants, and Michelin star restaurants. Any of you who's ever worked in one or know anybody or know about this world, you may know about this, that there are restaurants out there that when you're part of the wait staff, a waiter or a waitress, if you don't earn at least $100,000 a year in tips, not salary, just in tips, you get fired. They will literally fire you. Now, why would they fire you? They fire you because the head of the wait staff says that anyone who can't earn at least $100,000 a year working tables here, you are not good enough to be working here. You're just not providing good enough service. You shouldn't be working here. We're going to go let you work somewhere else where you can earn what you're worth. But if you can't earn at least $100K, you are not qualified to be a waiter at this restaurant. That's the kind of place you want to work. You want to work, if you're going to work off tips, work in a place where you can actually show that you're good and you can differentiate yourself from between you and the next person out there. And also, you got to go to where the opportunity is. All right, where's the opportunity when it comes to getting tips? You got to ask yourself these kind of questions, and don't go do something like driving for GoPuff or Uber Eats. And another thing is, while I'm on this subject, that if you are old enough to remember, it's 2000, we're about to be in 2025. So let's just say 2010, even back to 2000 or the 90s, if you order from a place like Pizza Hut and you order delivery, a Pizza Hut delivery driver will come deliver your pizza. Like the guy, he literally worked for Pizza Hut. He delivered your food. Nowadays, if you order food from Pizza Hut, who's delivering your pizza? It's not a Pizza Hut employee. It's somebody who works for DoorDash or Uber Eats. They got contracted. So Pizza Hut just contracts with Uber Eats. And now the delivery driver is just an Uber Eats guy. So he might deliver Pizza Hut now. Then 30 minutes from now, he's delivering Red Lobster. Then he's delivering something from GoPuff. Then he's delivering something from the Walgreens or whatever. So they're just contractors. Now, why does this matter? The reason this matters for those of you who work off tips is that you are no longer an employee. Now you're just a contractor, which means you have a lot less job stability. When you're a contractor, you don't have jobs. You don't have a job. You're a contractor, which means as soon as your contract is up, you are unemployed all over again. Whereas when you're an employee, and this is beneficial for the businesses because now they don't have employees, they got contractors. Now they're not responsible for healthcare. They're not responsible for payroll taxes. They're not responsible for a whole lot of things that they otherwise would have been responsible for had they had you on their payroll as a staff member, even if you were part-time. So this is beneficial for the businesses, not so good for the workers. So it may be fun to be an Uber Eats or DoorDash driver because you can work when you feel like working. If you want to take a week off, you can take a week off. You don't have to report to anybody. If you want to work 3 days straight without sleeping, you could do that too. But the problem is you don't have job stability. See, when you were an employee, you had job stability. You knew what the schedule was every week. You know how many hours you were getting, et cetera. You knew who your boss was. You knew exactly how it was working. But when you're an Uber Eats driver, you only have as much work as there is. So today's Christmas. All right, how much work? Of course, people still got to eat, but are people as much today as they would have been yesterday or they will be tomorrow? Not necessarily. But what if you need to make some money? So what's happening here, folks, in the bigger picture is that it's getting more and more advantageous for the businesses, the people who have the resources, and less advantageous for the workers. But people don't even realize it because it might feel like you have more freedom because technically you do. You do have more freedom. The problem, not the problem, but trade-off of freedom, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have less security. Freedom and security are traded for each other. They're not necessarily opposites, but they're traded for each other. If you want to be more free, you have to give up security. And if you want to be more secure, you got to give up freedom. Think about it. If you want to be completely free work-wise, well, how do you make your money? Well, you can become an entrepreneur. You are completely free. You can do whatever you want. You set your own schedule. You're your own boss. You make all the rules. And if you want there to be no rules, there are no rules. You have 100% freedom. The trade-off of that freedom is that you have no security, meaning you have no idea when the next time is you're going to make $1, let alone $10 or $100. You are responsible for everything financially. And if everything falls apart, it all falls on you. So all that freedom means you have zero security whatsoever until or unless you create it. Now, what if you want a whole bunch of security? What if you're like, I don't like that, Jerry. I want to have security. I want to know when my check is coming. I want to know exactly how much my check is going to be. I want to know exactly where I got to go to work. I want to know exactly what to do. I want someone to lay the whole plan out for me. I just wanted everything to be done for me. And I want to be completely secure in how my job works. Okay, well, get a job. You can get a full-time job somewhere working at a company, and that's exactly how it goes. They'll tell you when to come to work, what to wear, what to do, how to do it, when to go home, when to go to lunch, when you can go to the bathroom, when you can speak, when to shut the hell up. Here's the office that you got to sit in, and here's the process that you have to follow, and the check's going to be coming every 2 weeks. You have full security. Problem is you have no freedom. You can't do what you want to do when you work for somebody else because they tell you what to do, and if you don't do what they tell you to do, well, you know what happens next. So freedom and security are traded for each other, and it's not all or nothing. It's not like 100 and 0 all the time. If you want 75% freedom, you're going to have about 25% security. If you want 75% security, you're going to have about 25% freedom. So the more of one that you want, the more you got to give up the other one. So this era where you can be an Uber Eats driver or just an Uber driver and work whenever you feel like it, it gives you a good amount of freedom. Problem is you have no security. And most people, I mean, we can see a lot of people talk about this whenever costs start to go up or we start to deal with any kind of economic downturn. People start talking about, well, hey, the money's not where it used to be. People are looking for more security. And to get more security, you got to give up some freedom. So there's always this trade-off going on. And the better people understand this, the better you can make your own decisions. So anyway, let's continue. So the problem with all of this that I'm talking about here is that what companies have done with their design, and again, I'm not knocking their hustle, but I don't agree with their hustle. Two different things. What they've done is they've created an environment for an antagonistic situation between the contracted delivery people and the customer, or just their staff and the customer. They created this situation because if I go pick up some food from a restaurant and I got to stop the bar to get the food, and the bartender shows me that little handheld money taking thing, and it says, do you want to leave a tip? And I push 0%, and he's looking at it and sees me push 0. He might be a little annoyed that I push 0. Now he's probably not going to say anything to me because I'm not the type of person somebody's going to say something to, but he might still be annoyed. And now it's an antagonistic situation between me and the worker, and he's not the reason that situation is a situation. The reason is because the business allowed it to be set up that way. They're setting this up. And that's why I don't like it, because they set up this antagonistic, an environment that could become antagonistic. It doesn't have to be antagonistic, but it could become because of the way that it's set up. And it just creates this clusterfuck of a situation. And this is one of the many reasons why, I don't like ordering delivery is because, first of all, shit just takes too long. I can go get it there myself. And if you are a tip reliant worker, you don't want to be a delivery driver, because often you don't even see the delivery driver. You don't know anything about them. All you know is that the food either got there at the time that it said or it got there late, but you don't know anything else about the delivery driver. So there's no way for someone who's working delivery to differentiate themselves from the next person. And this is not a position you want to be in. None of you want to work in a place where you are a commodity. You don't want to be a working commodity. A commodity is something that is easily replaceable. We can't really tell the difference between one and the next. Commodities get replaced easy and they get replaced early. So you don't want to be one of those. You want to be a person who can separate yourself. So you want to go somewhere like a high-end restaurant. You may want to be a hairstylist, esthetician, or you want to be in one of those lines of work where you can build a reputation based on you, not just based on, well, I'm a deliver a pizza. All right, that's not the position you want to be in. And third point, position yourself to where getting what you want is your standard and baseline rather than a hoped for or expected handout. What exactly does this mean? That means you want to work somewhere that is high end, where money is being spent so that the money is going to flow to you naturally. So if you want to work in a service-based business where you work off of tips, go get a job at a high end 5-star restaurant. That's the kind of place you want to work at. The kind of place where you basically got to wear a suit to be a waiter or a waitress. That's the kind of place you want to work. Why? Why do you want to work in a high-end or 5-star restaurant? Well, here's the first thing you need to know about a high-end or 5-star restaurant is that the food costs a lot of money. And they have a big drink menu, and they sell a lot of wine, and they sell a lot of add-ons, and the appetizers cost more than the entrees at a place like fucking Applebee's or Outback Steakhouse. Or you want to work at a place where the food costs a whole lot of money, and it costs a whole lot of money just to even go there. You got to have money just to show up. That's the kind of place you want to work at. Why? Because the bill will be higher for every person who sits down at a table. And if you are serving tables who are spending $400 for a meal as opposed to $40 for a meal, you have a much better chance of getting a bigger tip and bringing more money home on a daily basis. You understand that? If the normal tip is 20%, would you rather be serving a table of people who spent $40, therefore you get an $8 tip? Or would you rather work at a place where the normal bill is $400, therefore you get an $80 tip? Which one would you rather work at? I would work at the $400 place. Now, let's be clear. Working at the $400 place, it is harder to get that job. There is not necessarily more competition for it, but there'll be fewer people competing for the job because fewer people aim high. Many people aim low. Many people try to be working at fucking Applebee's. Don't go work at Applebee's. Go work at the 5-star place. But the competition you do have to get the job will be high level individuals. So you only got to beat out 5 people instead of beating out 50 like you would at Applebee's. But the 5 people you got to beat out are actually good. And you got to beat out 5 people who are good rather than 40 people who are fucking bums. Y'all understand? This is the kind of job that you want to get. And you could apply what I just told you to any aspect of life, by the way. Don't just stick to this. This is not really about waiting tables at a restaurant. But at a high-end restaurant, people spend more money, even if it's just 2 people. All right, they get 1 appetizer, 2 entrees, and 2 drinks, and let's say 1 dessert that they share. You are looking at, there's a place down here in Miami. There's a bunch of expensive places here, but let's just say the Capitol Grill here in Miami. 2 entrees will be like, the entrees are like $60, $70 a piece. So let's just say that's $125. Let's say 1 appetizer, that's another $25. That's $150. And there's just 2 people. And let's say they get 2 drinks, or one person's drinking, one person's not, but they get 2 drinks. Those drinks are going to be $25 a piece. So what are we at now? What's that? $200? Then 1 dessert, that'll be like $225. So let's say the bill comes and then you add tax and they probably have an auto gratuity. So let's just say that's $250. And your gratuity on that, let's just say 20%, you already getting $40-$60. The automatic 20% on a 200, let's just say a $225 bill. So what are we talking about? Is that 20? Let's just call that $25-$50. All right, so there you go. Now you just made a $50 tip if you work at a high-end place. Now that same experience at Applebee's, that bill is going to be $50. So now you made $10. Which one do you want to do? All right, pick a struggle. All right, you can pick the struggle of having to compete against high-end people and being at a job. If you work at a 5-star restaurant or a high-end restaurant, a high-priced restaurant, the standards on you for how you have to show up, how you have to work, what you got to be able to do are going to be much higher than if you're working at some bum ass place where the average bill is $40. So which one do you want? Do you want to be held to higher standards to where you can make more money? Do you want to be held to low standards where it's easy, but you can't really get paid? If you're going to be in this line of work, this is what I'm suggesting that you do. So even bigger picture than that, forget about restaurants, any other line of work. You want to work where the money's at, ladies and gentlemen. Simple as that. Whatever line of work you want to be in, if your aim is maximizing your money, you need to go to where the money is. For example, let me give you some examples. Go be a valet driver for people with money. All right, go work valet at the Ritz-Carlton. All right, those people have money. All right, that's where you can make the money. Don't work valet at the Motel 6. They ain't even got valet, but you get what I'm saying. Go be a personal shopper for rich and famous people. Go be a bartender at the bar at the Wynn Hotel in Vegas. All right, there's money there because people who go there, only people who stay at the hotel have money. Now, you got to have money just to get a room at the hotel. Go be a casino dealer and on the high-end tables, the ones where you got to go into the little room to play, not the ones that anybody can walk by where you can bet $5. All right, go be a chauffeur. All right, go work somewhere where the money gets spent so that some of that money is flowing to you. Y'all got to be where the money's at. All right. I was just talking about Puff Daddy a couple of days ago on my live stream. One of the things that he would always say, stay close to the money. And it's a good idea. Stay close to the money. If your aim is making money, You got to go to where the money's at, and you got to stay around the money. And then some money will probably find its way to you. This is how you position yourself to win. If you're delivering pizzas for Uber Eats, you're positioning yourself to lose if your aim is money. Now, if your aim is just having something to do, then go ahead, deliver pizzas. If your aim is to make money, you got to go to where the money's at. Money is not in delivering fucking pizzas. All right, the money is in, working the bar at the hotel, bar of a 5-star hotel that costs $400 a night. See, that's where the money's at, because everybody who stays there has money. So they go there to spend money. So they're more than willing to spend money with you if you just give good service. Same level of service in two different places produces two different results. Okay, so there are restaurants out there, I already told you about this, where if you don't earn $10,000 a month in tips, you get fired. They give you 3 months. All right, within your first 90 days working here, if you don't earn at least $10,000 a month waiting tables, you are fired. Why? Because everybody else there is earning $10,000 a month. And if you can't earn at least $10,000 a month, you ain't that good. You get fired. That's the game. These are the kind of places you want to position yourself in, ladies and gentlemen, where you will be pushed to perform at a certain level to where a certain result is required. It's not even expected, it's required. And if you don't get it, you're out. That's how it works. This is usually the places, again, the places where you can make the most money are the places where the most money is being spent. Magic formula. You want to make more money, you got to go to where the money's at. So let me recap these 3 points here, and I'm gonna take questions in a second. So 3 points. I gave you like 50 points, but I broke it down to 3 main points. And gratuity and tips are extra. Again, definition of a tip is a sum of money given to someone as a reward for their services. Definition of gratuity, given or done free of charge. Number 1, it is not the responsibility of the customers to supplement the wages of a tip reliant individual. Doesn't mean that they won't, but it's not their responsibility. They don't owe it to you. You must earn it. Number 2, if you make money off of tips, work at a job in which you can differentiate yourself, like waiting tables or nails, to where people can know you personally, not to where you're just a nameless, faceless person delivering pizza. And number 3, position yourself to where getting what you want is the standard and the baseline rather than a hope for expected handout. Again, there are restaurants out there where they expect $10,000 a month in income from tips. And if you don't make $10,000, you're fired. You want to work in a place like that where you have to make $10,000 a month. If you're working in a place where making $10,000 a month is something that you hope for, well, you might make it, but you might not. Again, are you gonna make $10,000 a month in tips working at Outback Steakhouse? Probably not. But if you go work at a restaurant inside the Ritz-Carlton, can you make $10,000 a month? Yes, you can. You got to go to the right place. All right, stay close to the money. Anyway, let's get to the comments here and let's see what we got. I don't know if I didn't see any over there. Did I see any on IG? I did not. All right, TikTok is on you guys. So if you got a question or comment, let's see where we are at. So Lawrence said, give your audience the history of tipping. It's not really the subject. It's the current situation of tipping is what we're talking about. Kelly May, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. If you got a question or comment on TikTok, go ahead and post it. I'm reading the comments right now on TikTok, and I'll address any that I see. We get a lot of notifications on here. Time with said, I agree, but I was told tip because someone has to take time to bag it, condiments, etc. Well, I understand somebody saying that. I completely reject that idea, though. Time with no, I disagree with that. Someone has to take time to bag it, condiments, etc. That's the reason why we pay for the food. That's the reason you pay for it. So I went to a restaurant today. It was like $24, $25. I ordered a sandwich. It came with fries. I went and picked it up. So somebody had to cook it. Somebody had to put it on the bun. Somebody had to put it in a little container. Somebody had to put it in the bag. They had to put my name on it and put the little receipt, stick the receipt on it. Yeah, somebody did all that work. That's why I paid for it. I paid $24 for it. That was what I paid for. I'm not paying extra because you had to do work. All right. Doing work is called a job. Now, are you supposed to pay extra? Do you pay extra to everybody who does a job? If so, next time you get gas, you should pay extra because somebody had to drive the big gas truck down to the gas station and pump the gas into the ground. And then you should go give a tip to the people who paved the road that you drove on. Then you should give a tip to the people who put the wheels on your car. Then you should give a tip to the people who built the building that you live in. And see, if we're going off of that, then you should be giving a tip to everybody. So why does that one person get a tip? That doesn't even, logically, it doesn't add up. I get what you're saying. And whoever told you that, I understand what their position was. Maybe they used to work in a restaurant, but no, you don't get a tip for that. Nicole, the topic here today is that I think you probably already understand gratuity is extra. You do not get a gratuity just because you did your job. Dr. Josh said, how much does it hurt you to bless folks? That's a straw man question. Never once did I say it hurts me to give a tip. I just said I don't agree with the way that it is executed these days. And secondly, giving someone a tip, let's say if they do consider it a blessing, if that person really wants to get blessed, again, I emphasize this many times, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you are hoping for a blessing, but where the blessing, quote unquote, whatever you consider to be a blessing, is the normal standard outcome, not something that you hope for. See, if you're hoping for a blessing, then that means something outside of yourself is in control of it. But if the blessing is standard, let's say a blessing to you means you make 10 grand a month. You need to go somewhere where making 10 grand a month is normal, not where making 10 grand a month is an exception. And when you're depending on a tip to be blessed, then you're putting yourself in a precarious position, which is the entire point that I talked about in points number 2 and number 3. Sugar, what's going on? Merry Christmas to you. Nicole, thank you for joining. Time with got the number 1 gifter badge. Yes. Thank you. Congrats. Dr. Josh said, is your life that much worse to tip people? So here's another strong man question. It's not about my life being bad or good. I didn't say anything about that anywhere in here. So again, strong man question is you're reframing what I'm saying into something that I didn't say and then asking me to respond to it. That's a logical fallacy, classic logical fallacy. It gets used a lot in these comments when I'm talking about social topics. You're just the next person in line to try it. Margaret says that they take without asking their servers better be excellent. Yes, exactly. Well, down here in Miami, they're not excellent, but they do that. Now, you could technically say, hey, take that off the bill. But if you're going to live in a town like where I live, you pretty much you factor this into the cost of living. All right, this is just part of the lifestyle here is that you get billed 20% for the tip without even getting the choice. That's how it is. And he said, it's a tough gray area. There are bad servers and tippers both. Well, Annie, I do agree there are bad servers. As far as bad tipper, okay, I generally understand the concept of calling someone a bad tipper. The thing is, a tip is gratuitous. So there's really no such thing as a bad tipper because the tip is not owed to you. If I go to a restaurant and sit down at the table for a meal, I am owed service because you opened your business and said, we are a restaurant, come in here and eat. You owe me service because I sat down at the table. And the assumption is I'm going to pay for my food when I'm done. So that's owed to me. There is no written contract or even unwritten contract that says I owe you a tip just because you gave me service. I understand it's the expected thing in America that we do tips. There are many countries in the world where tipping is not a thing. You can't give a tip. And if you try to give one, I'll give it back to you. But to say that there are bad tippers is presuming, the way that you phrase this here, Annie, is presuming that there's an equality between the people who are offering the service and the people who are receiving it. There's not an equality. The customer and the employee are not equals. The employee owes the service. The customer does not owe a tip. The customer owes to pay for the service. If you say this service is $20, I owe you $20, but I don't owe you anything more than that $20. So there's not an equality here. So this is a false equivalence. Digital Whisperer says, so glad you're speaking to this. I'm in Seattle, and sadly, when they add that SC, I don't owe you the service charge. Yeah, I don't either. I hate service charges. And that goes straight to the company, by the way. Any of you who buys, or all of you are customers places, any of you work in a place where the business adds a service charge, does that money go to you? The money don't go to you. That money goes to the company. This is a way for them to extract money out of the customer without putting it on the price menu, which is very dishonest. And this is something that if I want to give one quality point to the Kamala Harris campaign, she was alluding to this. She didn't say it in so many words, but she was alluding to it. And then Donald Trump was talking about it as well. They were alluding to this, that when companies say that the price is $10, but then you go there, you go to order the thing, and it's supposed to be $10, but then the service charge is $3, and then the fee is $2, and then they ask you to give a tip. Now they damn near got $20 out of you when you came in for a $10 offer. That is dishonest business. And a lot of businesses do this. So Annie said, a lot of people don't understand how to properly tip. Well, who's the judge of what's proper, Annie? Who's the judge? Now, I understand the standard tip is 20%. That's how I understand it. But back in the days, it used to be 10%. And who knows, 10, 20 years from now, it might be 50%. Now it might be just pay us double. All right, whatever we say, pay us double. All right. And at some point, people are going to put their foot down and say, no, we're not doing that shit. And actually, what's actually going to happen, Annie, before I even get too far ahead of myself, here's what's actually going to happen. is that a lot of people who are working off of tips these days are going to be replaced by computers. So there won't be any more tips. There will be no tips because there ain't going to be no humans. Humans won't be working there. So Uber Eats will be gone. That's wrong. Uber Eats drivers will be gone. Uber Eats ain't going away. Uber Eats is going to get bigger, as a matter of fact. So any of you who's into stock investments, this is not stock, this is not financial advice, but I'm not saying it, but I am saying it. You should invest in companies that do deliveries, stuff like that, like Amazon. I would invest in companies like Uber Eats or anything similar to them, or anyone who owns something like that. Why? Because they're going to eliminate humans as workers, and they're going to have robots doing all the deliveries, and people are going to just be getting more and more deliveries by the robots because, first of all, it's going to be very convenient. And secondly, you ain't got to deal with people and you don't have to tip. That is definitely coming. So don't worry about people not being good tippers because there won't be any reason to tip because you don't have to tip a robot. And robots are taking these jobs. If any of you wasn't paying attention. Baked Ball said meritocracy, not entitlement. Yes, exactly. This is a performance-based business. Margaret said, I agree with you. Thank you. Baked Ball says self-checkout kiosks. Yeah. And you see that happening in businesses. So the Whole Foods there's a Whole Foods around me that they used to have. I remember years ago when I went to this Whole Foods, they had like 15 checkout registers of like people working at the register. And then they had the 10 items or less. It was like 8 of them. It was a little stand that they had. And it was 4 people on one side and 4 people on the other side. So if you had 10 items or less, you get in that line. And if you had a bunch of stuff, more than 10 items, it was like 15 people who could check you out to pay for your stuff, maybe 10. Nowadays, that same Whole Foods, that exact same Whole Foods, you know what they got now? Now they have 3 people working the human checkout lines and like 25 self-checkout kiosks. And before you know it, there will be 0 people doing the checkout lines. Maybe 1. It might be 1 person doing the checkout lines, just in case if it's some little old lady or something who can't pick her stuff up out the cart. It might be 1 personal checkout, and everything else is going to be self-checkout. That's what's coming. Actually, here's the biggest thing that's coming. I'm going to tell you where it's really going. For those of you who want to get real futuristic, it's going to be, and I think they have these. It might be in Seattle. There was someone here who said they were in Seattle. But how Amazon is there, they are practicing with these stores to where you get the cart and it's like a smart cart. So every time you put some stuff in the cart, it knows what you put in the cart and it adds it all up. You to leave. All you do is push a button. It charges your card on file, and you only have to in the cart. It already knows exactly how much it costs. So every time you put something in the cart, $4.99. You put some bananas in the cart. All right, those are $3. So now your total $79. Then you put some coffee in the cart. All right, that's $12. Now your total is $19.99. Every time you put things in the cart, it just automatically updates the total, and it shows it to you right there on the cart screen while you're walking through the store. So when you're ready to leave, it says, all right, your total right now plus tax is $85.34. Click this button to pay. We'll charge your card on file, and you can walk right out the store and just put this stuff straight into your car. That's what's coming. There will be no humans working in these stores. 0. The only humans are going to be people working in the back and like the managers. But if you're a front end entry level worker, all right, you will not have a job in these places. So any of you who's an entry level worker and work at a job that you didn't really need any specific skill to get, and anybody could get that job that you have, I suggest you step your game up like yesterday because you're about completely out of work. All right, so all you people talking about a living wage, okay, your living wage is about to be 0 because there will be no jobs for you if you don't step your game up. Trust me. And this is already happening, by the way. I'm not talking about some 100 years from now shit. We're talking like 100 days from now. Bake said from Whole Foods to your doorstep. Yes. I mean, they're already working on that. They already got delivery drivers. But again, they're about to eliminate humans. I really want y'all to understand this. If y'all are not catching this, please understand. If you work in an entry level job that does not require any serious human level specialized skill set, you are going to be replaced by a computer chip and an algorithm. This is not a joke. They are going to replace you. They're already doing it. Whole Foods that I go to used to have 15 people, 20 people working at the checkout counters. Now they got 3 and all the rest is self-checkout. That's where we are now. Imagine where we're going to be 5-10 years from now. There will be no people working in the store. As a matter of fact, you won't even be people in the store. We'll just go on our phones, click some buttons, And 15 minutes later, all the groceries will be at our front door. And then there's going to be robots that'll take the groceries from your front door and put the shit in the refrigerator for you. All right, it's coming. I'm kind of being tongue in cheek, but I'm not. At the same time, I'm not. Time with you. Appreciate those gifts on TikTok. Appreciate you, sir. Or I don't know if this is a man or a woman. I can't tell. Time with you. Read LA. Is that male or female? I want to make sure I'm recognizing you properly. But thank you. Digital Whisperer says Amazon does drones in your area all the time. Our neighbors work there. They are test area. Where you live? Digital Whisperer, what town are you in? So what I was just talking about, they said Amazon does drones in my area all the time. I want to know where you are because I know that that's coming. Now I know Amazon is based out in Seattle. Now I'm in Miami, which is like as far as you could get from Seattle. But I want to know where you are because I know it's spreading. And I know a lot of those things, like with those companies, they usually test in towns in the West Coast first. So they'll do like Seattle, Portland, like LA, San Francisco, Phoenix. And then once they test in all those places, maybe Austin, Texas, they'll test in those places. And then when they're good, then they'll start expanding out to like the East Coast. So Jessica White said, I'm glad I'm a housekeeper, LOL. Housekeeper, Jessica, do you clean? You do cleaning? We're looking for a cleaning person. So I don't know if you're in South Florida, but if you're in South Florida, send me a DM. And I'm serious. I'm looking for a housekeeper. I don't know where you live. So Shuggy said Dre is hot about it. No, I mean, I'm not hot about it. It's an interesting subject because I like to talk about stuff that people are kind of divided on, where people have different opinions. I'm not angry about it. It's just an interesting topic. Someone said, Andy said, I have a problem tipping at Dunkin'. Dunkin' Donuts be asking for tips? That's crazy. I don't go to Dunkin' Donuts, but that's what I mean. That's an example of what I mean. How are you asking for a tip at Dunkin' Donuts? What are you doing? You're standing at the counter. I ask you for a glazed donut. You turn around. You get the glazed donut from 5 feet away. You put it in the bag. You bring it back to me 5 feet this way. And then you're asking for a tip. What am I tipping you for? All right. Don't you get paid? You got a salary? What am I tipping you for? I don't understand this shit. This is crazy. You can differentiate yourself in that space. Doing hair is another one. Many people I know who get their hair done, they stay with the same hairstylist even when the hairstylist moves from place to place to place. That's the kind of work you want to be in, where you can separate yourself. Eleanor said, I wouldn't shop at a company that automated. Well, Eleanor, for now, you have that option. So right now we're recording this. I'm recording this on Christmas Day, 2024. Right now, Eleanor, you still have that option. But in 5 to 10 years, you will not have as many options as you have right now. So I respect your position. You won't have the option of having that position in the future. John said, why the insults when my thinking is different than yours on this subject? I didn't insult you, Dr. John. What did I say about you? If I insulted you, please tell me what I said. Shuggy said, yes, it's crazy when they do that, like in Miami. Yeah, in Miami, they do all the stuff I'm talking about, they do here. Any big city. So Miami, New York, LA, those are the ones I know for sure do it. But Vegas is a different type of city. They're a little bit different than everybody else. Time with you said, I went to a type chicken sandwich. Oh, Chick-fil-A. Chicken sandwich and ask about tips. No way to. Yeah, exactly. They're just extracting money from the customers. That's what they're doing. Over here, laughing said, my nail salon is like that, and the owner's only calculates tips once a month. Right. So they keep all the tips. If you put it on your card, the business gets the tips, and then they dole it out how they want to dole it out. So if any of you go anywhere with a service and you like the person and you really want to help them out with a tip, carry cash. Give them a tip in cash because they can just put that shit in their pocket. They don't have to report it to their bosses. They don't have to report it to the government if they don't want to. I'm not saying not to do that, just in case anybody's listening. They don't have to report it to the government if they don't want to, and they can just put that money in their pocket. If you really want to help out somebody who's giving you great service, give them cash. Do not put it on it. Don't put it on your card because that goes through the business, and the business is taking their tax off of that before they even get their money. That's an absolute fact. That's been true since before we even had Apple Pay and all these phones and stuff. That was true back in the 90s. So someone said the fees be crazy. Yeah, there's fees for everything. Spirit Airlines. Don't fly on Spirit Airlines. Nobody fly on Spirit Airlines. Sugar said, yeah, that bothers me when they watch. Yeah, they're not supposed to, but I mean, it's human nature. I don't like the setup. Josh said, what are their policies on this is the question. I don't know who you're referring to. Who's there you're referring to? Napolitano said, I still pick zero. Yeah, some people will still pick zero, but a lot of people don't. Shogi said, me too, don't pressure me. LOL. They'll see a lot of you think like me. That's why you're listening to this. But there are a lot of people who don't think like that, and they won't push zero right in front of somebody's face. I will push zero right in front of somebody's face, especially if they didn't do shit. Now, I'll give a tip if you actually did something and you were good. Time with you said, happen to you, so you know what's happening. Yes. Oh, Jeannie said, doorbell camera. Yeah, some of them look like doorbell cameras, but again, you always see these videos on the internet of people doing stuff, and you could tell that they're acting. Sometimes you can't tell. They're really good actors. You shouldn't always be able to tell that they're acting if they're good. So I think some of these are just set up. Some people just doing shit to get seen on the internet, and some of it is real. So you never really know. On the internet, it used to be the saying used to be back in the day, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Now, because of the internet, the new saying is believe 25% of what you see and believe less than what you hear. So anything you hear, believe like half of it, less than half of what you hear. Or, excuse me, I said none of what you hear. Anything you hear, believe that the truth is probably the opposite. That's really where we are now, especially with the internet. On the internet, people can lie to you all damn day. So be very careful anything you believe on the internet, especially something that goes viral. People will just do shit to go viral, even if it's a complete lie. So let's see. Dr. Josh said, not necessarily true when they don't have control over the food quality. What are you talking about? The waiters and the waitresses? Elizabeth said, I agree. I was a waitress at a restaurant and they got to know my customers. Yes, exactly. That's where you want to be. You want to do that. Bake Boss said, higher ticket price menus, larger capacity restaurants. Yeah, exactly. That's where you want to be. Bake said, flexible schedule and fast money. Yes, the challenge is you don't know when you can make money. What if nobody's ordering food? Now you can't make any money. Dr. Jess said, less advantageous on the employer side. In some ways, and in some ways it's better for them because now they're not tied to the employee. They got fewer employees, that's fewer headaches. Every employee you add is a headache. Even if they're a good employee, it's still a headache because you got to look after them. Patricia said, I don't pay a tip on the wine, drinks, nor tax portion of the bill. Now, see, I never thought about it like that. Patricia, you must be good at mental math because you got to count that in your head. I'm kind of joking, but I get what you're saying. Sugi said, yes, I'm ready for a shift. Well, you got to go to where the money's at. Nikki said, very logical explanation. Thank you. That's what I tend to do. I think I do pretty well with that. Nicole said, LOL, doesn't make sense. Yes. Dr. Josh said, in your eyes, it is. I don't know what you were referring to there. Josh said, move to an area in the world that meets your expectations. I don't know. Some y'all referring to stuff that I said when I was talking, so I don't know what these are in context. Nicole said, I see the topic a lot on social media. A lot of folks say waiters should choose better jobs and stop being so entitled. Yes, they should. Or they got to compete for a better job. See, if you want a higher level job that pays more money, you got to compete because other people are going to want that job too. The thing is, there will actually be fewer people competing for the job, but the few people who compete are actually good. And that's what actually happens. Many people tend to think that the higher level you go, the more competition there is. That's technically not true. There's usually more competition for the lower level stuff because most people set their sights very low. So if you aim for a low level job, you're going to be competing against a lot of people, but most of them are bums. But when you go for a higher level job, there are fewer competitors, but the few competitors you have are all really good. That's the difference. So the competition is stronger, even though it's fewer people. So that's what people tend to not say. People tend to think that the higher you go, you just get more and more people. That's false. It's actually the opposite. But the people you compete with are high level individuals. Jay Monique said, is that called bait and switch? Yes, it's a bait and switch. And technically it should be illegal, but it's not illegal. And a lot of companies get away with it. That's the part that I don't like. Mutton's Merry Christmas to you. Ed said the robot takeover is on the way. Do you think robots will be detrimental to society in the future? Depending on how they get used. And detrimental, that's a highly subjective term. So I think when people start getting fired from Whole Foods and Burger King, they're going to call the robots detrimental. They already calling them detrimental. That's already happening. So I think it will be good for people who are using the robots. It's going to be bad for people who get replaced by the robots. So the detrimental question there, Ed, it depends on who you are. So if I own a business and I got a bunch of robots working for me, instead of having to pay humans, I'm happy. But if you're a human who was working for me and I fired you because I got a robot to take your job, you're mad. So it depends on who you are. So what I suggest to everybody who's listening to this is that you get on the right side of this situation so that you don't become a victim of it. That's what I'm suggesting that you do. Tracy said, I'm outside of Seattle and Amazon Fresh is like that, where you can just put the stuff in the cart and it knows what you got. That's crazy and it's coming. That's going to be everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. Dr. Josh said we have Amazon Fresh in VA. All right, so why ain't they got Amazon Fresh in Miami? They need to get it down here. Shit. I'll go to Amazon Fresh. Instead of having to, I don't know, whatever makes it more convenient, I'll try it out. Mutton said that technology is currently being used. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what's coming. So you won't need a person working the register anymore because the shopping cart is doing all the work. Time said, I heard a certain place charges a fee for self-checkout. I can believe that because in different towns, the thing is with the laws are different everywhere. So the reason Amazon Fresh is probably not in Miami because the state of Florida or the city of Miami has different laws. So for example, I remember I was in, was it Seattle or San Francisco? I think it was both. I think it was both places. I was in Seattle once and also in San Francisco. Those of you who live in those towns, y'all tell me if this is still the case. I went to Whole Foods and I bought a bunch of stuff because I was doing a speaking gig. And I walked to Whole Foods, it's like 3 blocks away. And I got all this stuff and I needed one bag. And they said, do you have your own bag? I said, no, I don't have my own bag. And they charged me like $1 for the bag or 25 cents, whatever. I had to pay for the bag. It was like a little paper bag. I had to pay for the bag. Here in Miami, you don't have to pay for the bag. But in Seattle and San Francisco, you got to pay for your bags. If you get 10 bags for your groceries, you got to pay for each one of those bags. This absolutely happened to me in San Francisco and Seattle, but this was like a year or two before COVID. In both places that happened to me. So is that still the thing over there that you got to pay for if you want a paper bag or a plastic bag, you got to pay for it? So it's just different laws in different places where they make you do this stuff. Mutton said, I'm a senior engineer. I had to keep them on technology. That's a good business to be in these days. Shuggy said, that's a separation be a middle class. No, there will be no middle class. Middle class is disappearing already. Tracy said, worries me with all the stores closing because the less competition, the more they raise prices. Well, that's one way of looking at it. And what I would say to that, Tracy, is that if you believe that prices are going to go up, then I would suggest that you make sure your revenue goes up. Because I don't think there's a way to stop prices from going up. But you saw Kamala Harris campaigned on that and she lost. So making prices go down. Even Trump, he said, I'm not sure I can make prices go down. So everybody should get that loud and clear message. Prices ain't going down, ladies and gentlemen. It's not happening. Prices are going up. So I would suggest that everybody just get your revenue up so that you don't have to worry about how much eggs cost. Nicole said, I will press 0 quick if I'm picking up if I'm picking up my food, I'm not tipping shit. That's not happening. JJ Fox said, Santa is Satan. What does that mean? Oh, Ed said, you mean like robots turning on humans and enslaving like the movies? I don't think that's going to happen because robots get programmed by humans. So as long as the humans program the robots are smart, then that shouldn't happen. Tracy said, yes, you pay for bring a bag as a whole state of Washington, not just Seattle. Okay. Yeah, I remember being in Seattle and I noticed a lot of people brought their own bag and then I didn't have a bag because I was just visiting and they made me pay for the bag. Interesting. You said you've seen that movie already? Yeah, I don't watch movies, but I don't think that's going to happen. Tracy said, Washington State now charges an extra tax on eggs. We went to Oregon. The eggs were significantly cheaper. Well, I hope you didn't go to Oregon just to get eggs, Tracy, but I get what you're saying. And what I suggest to everybody, Devontae Ray, what's going on over there on IG? I suggest to everybody is that, first of all, here's just a dose of reality that prices are not going down. I don't care who the president is. I don't care what company does what. Prices are always going up. Why? Because the value of the dollar is always going down. So this means prices have to go up to get more value for the dollar. Your dollars that you have in the bank right now or cash that you have in your pocket is worth less and less every single day because of inflation. Inflation just means there's more dollars in circulation, which means the value of a dollar goes down because they are so abundant. When things are abundant and there's a whole lot of it to be had, the value goes down. When there's only a few of something and it's scarce, the value goes up. We keep printing money, which means putting more money into circulation, which means the value of the dollar is less and less and less. That's why prices keep going up, because in order for me to get the proper value for my $100 pair of sneakers, Now I got to charge you 110 for the sneakers. Now I got to charge you 120. Now I got to charge you 150 because the dollar isn't worth as much as it used to be. So what all of you should do to respond to this is not complain about the fact that prices are going up. It doesn't matter who you vote for president, and it doesn't matter who wins. What matters is you need to position yourself to make more revenue and increase your income so that as prices continue to increase, it does not negatively affect you. That's what you should do. That's what everybody should do. Even if you're not sure how you're going to do it right now, the first thing you need to do is set it in your mind that this is what you're going to do. You need to get this as a mindset that I need to be looking for ways to make more money instead of looking for ways to hope that prices go down. They're not going down. They're always going to go up in our lifetimes. The only way prices will ever go down, ladies and gentlemen, is if we have complete anarchy in the United States. And when I say anarchy, I mean literally anarchy, like no government, no police, no laws, no rules. I don't think most of you want to go through that. If that happens, then there will be no prices. You can just go in the store and take whatever you want. The problem is there's going to be somebody waiting outside that store with a baseball bat or a knife or a gun to take it from you. And if you ain't ready to play that game, I would suggest you just make more money. Because I don't think most people want that game. That's the only way prices will go down. Other than that, prices are going up. Everybody understand? So do I know what my topic is tomorrow, or am I playing it by ear? Let's see. I got a bunch of topics that I haven't addressed yet. Let me see what I have in my list. So let me tell you what I got on my list. I'm going to be talking about homeschooling because this is a topic I hear people talking about on X all the time. Homeschooling, I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about lawfare, not warfare, but lawfare, how people use the law as a weapon, how the government, uses the law as a weapon against people that they don't like. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about people who I follow when it comes to news. There's specific people who I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about hip hop culture, quote unquote culture. I'm going to talk about toxic masculinity. And I'm going to talk about toxic femininity. That's the thing, too. What else I got? I might do the logical fallacies one. I might not do that one. But those are some topics that I have on deck. I usually talk about a current event. So if something happens today, between today and tomorrow morning, then I might talk about that thing. I don't know what that will be because I wait to play it by ear. But if nothing big happens, then I'm probably going to go into tomorrow. I would probably do... This would be my plan for tomorrow. I'm not going to do the homeschooling one yet. I think I'm going to do the lawfare one. So I'm probably going to talk about lawfare tomorrow. A lot of people don't know what lawfare is, but if you never heard the term lawfare, you want an example of what it is. Look what they did to Donald Trump over the last couple of years. That's lawfare. Instead of bringing out guns and tanks to kill a person, what you do is you bring out the courts and the judges and criminal charges to try to destroy a person that way. That's called lawfare. And he's not the only one. Donald Trump is one person who had it happen. He's the most high profile, but there are many others who've had it happen to them. I'll probably talk about that one tomorrow. Lawfare. That's the pending topic. That's the tentative topic for tomorrow, assuming that nothing else happens that catches my attention. But something catches my attention, I'll change my mind. So these live streams I do Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. usually. I did this one at a different time because it's Christmas. On New Year's Day, I might do a different time. Actually, New Year's Day, I don't know, because things aren't open at the same time. So I got to shift my schedule around, not because I shift, but because other things like the gym doesn't open at the normal time and I got to adjust my schedule for all of that. But usually, as long as it's a normal weekday, Monday through Friday is 8 a.m. Eastern when I do these live streams. So what I do, I run a company called Work on Your Game, where I coach people, I consult with businesses, I do speaking, I have courses, I have books. You can learn more about that by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's the link in my bio on whatever application you're following me on right now. Probably by the start of the new year, I'll be opening up, or I'll be relaunching my email list. I write articles like every day, but I haven't been sending them out as much lately, but I got like 100 of them I got like 100 waiting to go out. I'm not going to send all 100 in one day, but usually I send out emails every day. I'll be putting that page out to where you can sign up and get my emails completely for free. That'll be coming out probably before the new year. We just got to work on some back end technical stuff. For now, make sure the emails are firing and sending the way that they're supposed to. I got 50,000 plus people on my email list. So those will be coming out. And then I'll be talking more about the university. All that's coming in today's the 25th. So all in the next week, I'll be setting all that up. Y'all be hearing more about that. Just make sure you're following me if you're on TikTok, follow me on YouTube and Instagram. Those links are in my bio and on TikTok. Follow my Instagram, follow my YouTube, all the replays of these lives. So if you ever hear me talking and I say I talked about something before, The replay is on YouTube. So my YouTube channel is just Dre Baldwin. Just look up my name, Dre Baldwin. You'll find my YouTube very easily. I got 14, maybe 13, 14,000 videos on YouTube. So plenty of content there. Instagram, I mentioned. I'm also on Facebook. Those of you who are Facebook users, just my Facebook page. Just look up my name, Dre Baldwin, or it's Facebook/Work on Your Game University. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm on Rumble. I'm on X at Dre All Day. Everybody have a great Christmas. Hope everybody got the gifts that you wanted, or at least gave the gifts that you wanted. I will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be back at the normal time. Tomorrow's the 26th. We'll be back in normal time Thursday and Friday. Normal time Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, I don't know. I'll probably do a live, but it'll be at a random different time next Wednesday, the 1st, and then we'll be back normal schedule starting January 2nd, moving forward. All right, so everybody have a great day. I will see you all next time tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern. We out of here. Merry Christmas.